Hello, my friends. Welcome to Haein Yoga. In this session, we will be practicing yoga for the hips. It's an all-level, slow-paced, gentle yet dynamic session to soften the tightness in the hips and to bring more fluidity and easiness in your body. You will feel your hips renewed by awakening the dormant areas and supporting overworking areas in your hips. A quality I would like to invite for our practice today is surrender. Not as a giving yourself up kind of surrender where you disappear, but more like as an offering yourself to the bigger intelligence and remembering that you are part of it. Shall we? Let's start in seated position. Have your legs crossed and keeping your feet away from your hips, have the distance between your knees fairly narrow so that your feet comes underneath your knees. It may feel a little bit uncomfortable cross-leg position, but we want to keep the angle of the knee a little bit open so that we can access to the hips. So from here, let's have the hands on top of the knees, gently grounding the knees, allowing the thighs to soften and roll out open as you bringing your attention to your hips and softening and relaxing, we gently fold forward. Just a couple of breaths here and letting this posture continue unfold rather than hitting a posture. I'm taking one more breath. And then slowly coming back up. Cross to the other side. And fold forward. Just paying attention how you are adding the head in this posture. It's while it holds a significant weight, but also symbolically, it's a moment that at the end, as you bow forward, you are giving yourself, offering yourself to something bigger. Slowly coming back up. Have your feet about mat-wide distance, not narrower, it could be wider, but about mat-wide distance. Have your hands behind you so that you're slightly leaning back. And from here, let's have the right knee falling to the inside. You may need to walk the right foot further away from you to find it more comfortable. And then eventually resting your left knee as well towards the ground. You will feel the outer edge of your right thigh as well as your hips. At this point, you can use your left foot to place it on top of your right knee from the outside to ground that right knee a little deeper. And from here, if you want to go a little deeper, you can bend your right elbow a little bit and just slightly turning the chest to your right side as well as your head. And as you do that, it's not really a twist. Think of elongating all the way from your right knee along your hips and all the way to your right chest. Release the left leg back to the center and change to the other side. Left knee coming down to the center and the right knee as well. Eventually right foot coming on the outside of your left knee, grounding. So the purpose of your right leg here, your right foot, right leg is really helping for your left leg. If you relax your right leg too early, it actually takes the tension and the attention away from your left leg. Maybe bending your left elbow a little bit and slightly turning to your left side, elongating all the way from your left knee to your left chest. And slowly coming back to the center, getting the leg back. Placing the sole of your feet together and keeping your feet bit away from your hips, so it makes rather a nice diamond shape, not too close to your hips. Depends on the distance, we access a different kind of hips, and you are absolutely welcome to experiment where you feel in your hips in relation to distance you have between your feet and the hips. So here in the diamond pose, you can hold your knee, you can hold your ankle, whatever that feels appropriate for you to access this posture. You can shake a little bit. Basically, we are folding forward. Allowing your abdomen to relax while your back elongates. Grounding through your hips and softening your inner thighs. So much going on here. Wow. Your feet stay soft but also firm to kind of collect the energy, to keep the energy in. Your breath is deep. Your breath is gentle. Just one more breath. And then slowly coming back up. Let's have the left knee bent and placing your right knee on top of your left knee. So it's in this cow pose. If this feels too uncomfortable for you, you can straighten the bottom leg, your left leg here, so that we walk one hip at a time. Or you can bend both knees. I will do in this position. So we are accessing the outside of the hips, and from here, place your hands on the side and we're going to gently fold forward. There isn't much explanation really needed. It's fairly simple postures, what we're doing today. Yet what is complicated is what you feel inside within that container of this posture. So tuning in with what your body, your hips express. And slowly coming back up. Cross to the other side. And we continue on the other side. So this time your left knee is up. And again, you can have both knees bent or have your bottom leg straight. Just make sure when you straighten your bottom leg, flex that foot and press the heel against the floor to protect your knee. Few breaths here. And slowly coming back up. Let's come to downward facing dog. And walk the dog. Bending one knee at a time. Swinging the hips side to side. And just bringing movement and range of motion in your hip socket. And from here, let's step your right foot forward to the outside of your right hand. Place your back knee on the ground. And you can stretch the back foot, or you can keep the toes underneath, whichever that is comfortable for you. That gives you better stability. And from here, starting with both hands underneath your shoulder, eventually we are coming down to the left elbow and eventually both elbow. If this is too intense for you, go back up and stay up on your hands. You want to find the right intensity where you can rest into it, yet feel challenged enough that you are on your edge, but not outside of your edge, but still inside your edge. Couple of breaths here. You can stay still, and sometimes also when it comes to hips, it a little movement can bring a little more easiness to access to different spaces, different creeks and valleys. Just make sure that you are breathing well and deeply through your belly, that your belly stays relaxed. If you're on your elbows, let's come back on your hand and let's meet back in downward facing dog. As soon as you arrive in downward facing dog, walk the dog. And again, bringing some movement and range of motion in your hips. It's good to alternate between a still motion and more dynamic motion. Just for the health of joint in the body, both are definitely needed. Let's step forward with your left foot to the outside of your left hand. And we are going into lizard pose on the other side. And again, you can come down on your right elbow, you can stay on your hands, you can come down on both elbows. Just finding a right intensity for you. For me, I haven't been well for the last whole week and staying quite a lot of time in bed. I haven't moved at all. I wasn't really capable to move. So today is the first day actually that I am starting to move and I feel stiff, like, yeah. So that's where I am, and I'm happy to be here, and I hope you find your place and find joy in being where you are in your own condition. Okay, if you're on your elbows, come back on your hands and push back up to downward facing dog. Let's step forward with your right foot, this time in between your hands. Place your back knee on the ground. And let's stretch the back foot. Have your hands around your hips. And from here, let me change. Tuck your back toes underneath so that we can lean back to the back knee and lean forward to the front foot. We're going to alternate this few times. As you inhale, come up and lean the weight to the back leg. And as you exhale, think of going forward and down. You just want to make sure your knee does not pass your toes. And just one more time, coming up and exhale forward. Do not relax your back leg. Push the toes against the floor. And think of, while your front knee is going forward, your back knee wants to go backward, hugging into the center at the same time. Okay. Let's come back up to downward facing dog and let's change the leg. Left foot forward, back knee on the ground. Keep the back toes underneath. Hands around your hips. Inhale, come up to the back foot. And exhale, go forward. Tuck the tailbone in slightly, and here, keep your belly engaged, meaning pull in the belly. Inhale, come up. You don't want to relax your belly, just let it sticking out, because then there is a lot of pressure going into your lower back. As you go forward, pull the belly and lift up the belly, the lower part of the abdomen, where the left knee wants to go forward, right knee wants to go back, and your legs are hugging into the center line. Let's hold here for one more breath. Oh, okay. Hands on the ground, downward facing dog. I'm sure you knew that this was going to come, especially when it's a hip opening. Let's go to pigeon pose. Right foot forward with your shin bone on the ground. For now, let's keep the front foot close to your hips and just make sure that your back leg is aligned, because it depends on how your back legs are. We are getting in touch with the different part of the hips. Have your toes really pointing back as well as your knees pointing down to the ground. And settling in this position. With next exhalation, let's gently fold forward. You can, again, come down on your elbows or all the way down to the ground. But what I want you to pay attention is, again, the hips. In all posture, it's very easy for the head to take over and initiate the movement. And not only because this is especially for the hips, just in general, always moving from the center, always moving from the place of the body where we want to really dedicate this practice, this posture to. And let the rest of the body align to support that part of your body. Okay, slowly coming back up. And bring the front heel even closer to your hips so that you're a little bit more comfortable. And then have the back knee bend and catch the back foot from the inside. Now, ideally, your knees are aligned in one line, but if your hip is a little bit out, that is okay. As long as you feel the front of your left hip, we're all good here, okay? Keep your right foot flexed so that it gives you a little resistance to your left side. And then basically bringing the left heel close to your buttocks, taking your time. And when you cover the toe, it gives extra intensity. So you might want to start with your ankle and then eventually walk your hands towards your toe. Your hand could be on the floor. You may need that. But if you don't need your right hand much to stay in balance, then bring that hand on top of your right knee to just give a little more lifting up in your spine. Okay. And release the back foot. Downward facing dog. Let's get onto the other side. Alright, just very simple sequence, and I must say I am quite enjoying this. Let's have the left foot forward to the pigeon pose, left shin bone and the foot on the ground, bend your front knee. And again, have your right foot close to your hips. Aligning the back leg, the knee and the toes, and slowly fold forward. On your forearm or eventually all the way down, arms stretched, head on the floor. But again, let your hips and let the center of your body drive, lead you the way. A couple more breaths here. And slowly coming back up. Placing your front heel close to your hips even more, because if they are farther away, it's going to be much more intense. Flex that foot to give a bit of a resistance and bend the back knee, bringing the back heel close to your hips, and take your time, really. You go as far as you feel a slight resistance, stay there. Breathe deep. And then after a couple of breaths, I'm pretty sure that you can go a little deeper. And again, find that edge, breathe into it, breathe into that edge. And notice that edge expanding and go a little deeper. Okay. And release the back foot. Come to downward facing dog. And with next inhalation, let's bring one of your foot forward in a way that you come into wide-legged stance. Have your hands around your hips and let's gently fold forward. Just before that, have your toes pointing slightly awkwardly inwards. And then let's fold forward. Have the weight a little bit more towards your toes and the inside of your feet. And place your hands on the ground, and let's come all the way to sitting position. Stretch your legs to the side, and let's keep your right knee bent. You don't need to bring your left leg as wide far as you can, just where you can sit with a straight back. If you find it's difficult to sit with a straight back, you can bend your left knee, but keep that left leg strong and resisting through the heel so that the leg does not move in all way, but it is fixed. Okay, and from here, a simple side bend. Have your left hand on the ground in front of your left leg and catch the back of the neck with your right hand. Push your left forearm or your left elbow against the inside of the leg. Gently roll up with your right elbow up to the ceiling. You can look down to the floor, you can look front, you can look up. And what is important here is grounding the right side of the hips. Probably you have noticed that we are working with the different angles of the hip, but also our hamstring, the back of the leg, and also the side of the body, because it is closely linked. And by giving attention to those areas, it ease as well. It brings easiness in your hips. Slowly come back up. Right hand will catch the outside of your left leg. It could be the thigh, it could be knee, calf, or the ankle, or the foot. You get hold of wherever you can. Pull towards you. You almost want to bring your right chest to your left leg. As you turn to your left side, we fold forward. Keep your left hand far out to give you a leverage to move. Again, ground your right hip. One more breath. And slowly coming back up. Let's change the leg and go to the other side. Bending to the side. Right hand on the ground in front of your left leg. Push with your forearm or your elbow against the inside of the leg. Catch the back of the neck with your left hand. The reason why we catch the back of the neck instead of stretching the arms all the way is by shortening that upper part of our body to be able to focus more around our center and the hips. Make sure your right foot is flexed, whether your knee is bent or straight. And slowly coming back up. Stay where you are, turn your chest to your right side, catch the outside of your right leg with your left hand. Again, ankle, calf, or thigh. Reach far out to the side with your right hand. Bend your left elbow. Think of turning to your right side with your chest and bringing your left chest close to your right leg. Ground your right hip as well as your left hip. One more breath. So you will feel very strongly around the waistline. And slowly coming back up. We're almost there. Now, extend both knees to the side. Flex your feet. And again, you can bend your knees a little bit. What is important that your back is straight so that our pelvis is in this way rather than rounded. Okay, have your hands around your hips and just simply move in this posture. Like, I am aware that this posture is not necessarily a comfortable one for many people. So just moving in a way that is possible for you and getting to know our hips in this posture. Side to side, front and back. And then have your hands around your hips. Flex your feet, press your heels against the floor, and press your thigh against the floor as well. Go forward with your chest as much as you can. This does require flexibility, but also it requires a lot of strength in your leg and in your back. And coming back up, we're going to do this 2 more times. This really fires up around the hips and the back and the leg. You can go as far as you can. Keep your arms behind, otherwise it's going to be heavier. And coming back up. And 1 more time. This time, once you go as far as you can, slowly, one hand after the other, place your hands in front of you. And then elongate. Think of bring your chest forward. Make sure your feet are flexed once again. Resisting against the floor with your heel. And slowly coming back up. Now the last one here is bridge pose. And the reason why we are doing bridge pose is a part of re-educating the hips and to learn how to relax. So lay on your back, have your feet about hip wide distance and have your toes pointing forward. And from here, as you raise your hips, I want you to pay attention to how your hips are tensing. So we're doing this bridge pose not for the back bend, but how to really be aware how the hips, the buttocks are tensing as you raise up. And by bringing awareness how you're tensing, we are also overriding the tension in the hips. And from here, this is the really important part. As you slowly come down, I want you to relax your hips gradually. Relax the whole inside, your pelvis, your belly, and your buttocks. And as your lower back, your sacrum touches the ground, your hips start to relax completely. And I want you to arrive to this place where your hips are completely relaxed. Let's do this 1 more time. As you inhale, again, bring all your attention to how your buttocks are tensing and squeezing to lift up. And then from here, slowly, gradually releasing the hips. And start to let go of wherever that you can bring your attention to. The belly, pelvic floor, buttocks, thighs. And as your sacrum touches the ground, everything melts. Keep melting, keep melting, keep melting. Gently walk your feet further out to your side so that your feet becomes about mat wide distance. Then let your knees lean to each other. And continue melting. Close your eyes. Thank you everyone for joining me on this video. Hips hold so much. It's an area in our body that carries our reproductive organs. Needing to give birth to something that contributes to something bigger than yourself and leave a legacy is a deeply ingrained human psychology that is both spiritual and survival related. So a question I want to leave you to contemplate to finish the session is, what is the most important life quality for you to cultivate in this lifetime? And how I would like you to find that is asking yourself, how do you want to be remembered? Comment below. If you like this video, give a thumb up and subscribe to my channel for weekly yoga practice. I wish you an incredible day and hope to see you next week. Keep shine on.